Welcome to Virtual Sheet Music. I'm Robert Estrin, and we have a question from a Virtual Sheet Music user, KP, asks some tips on how to play the Military Polonaise of Frederic Chopin. So I'm going to show you a bit about it. A lot of you probably know the Military Polonaise. That's the beginning part of it. Now, how is it possible to play that without getting exhausted? I remember when I first studied that piece, I was a young teenager, and I got so tired playing through it because you notice that there are tons of repeats. If you play it with all the repeats, it's a tour de force because almost the whole thing is loud. It has a little trill section in the middle that repeats a couple of times where you get your wrists to have a little rest. And so, yes, the wrists. The secret is in the wrists. So that's the lesson for today. I'm going to explain how to approach this. Now, you've got these rapid chords that require power and speed. Now, of course, for the ultimate speed, you can't beat the fingers. The fingers go very, very fast on the piano, but they have very, very little power. Now, the arms have immense amounts of power. So when you need tremendous power, you use your arms. When you need speed, use your fingers. It's music that requires a combination of both, like in the Military Polonaise, where you need to use your wrists, and it's really important to identify that you're only using the wrist, because look what would happen if I tried to play the Military Polonaise with my arms. First of all, it's a hideously ugly sound because it's too much power. And the other thing, it's impossible to get the snappy speed out of it. So if I take the pedal off, you can hear what I'm actually doing. And I'm going to do it slowly for you to show you the technique. It's important to make sure you're in the exact position over the keys so that the wrist can do the smallest possible amount to achieve the results that are desired. If you're not precisely over the keys, then the wrists can't possibly do their job. So the arms do have a place in this. The arms have to guide the hands exactly over the right keys. Then the wrists just have to move less than an inch to be able to do their job. If they're moving much more than an inch, once again, it's going to slow things down. So this is what it looks like, slowed down for you. So you notice I'm using the wrist, and sure, it's not nearly as powerful as the arms, but it doesn't need to be because there's plenty of power in the wrist. Now, if you don't have any wrist technique, how might you develop it? I suggest taking something very, very simple like thirds, the notes C and E with a second and fourth finger, and put a metronome on 60 at one note to the beat, and just play it 8 times and go up the scale 8 times on each note, metronome at 60, and it'll look like this if you do it correctly. Now I could go up the whole scale like this, but you get the idea. I guarantee if you've never worked in your wrists before and you play all the way up the scale 8 times on each note and down, you'll feel it in your arms because these are muscles that if you haven't used the wrist before in your piano playing, they're new muscles to develop. So I suggest doing that exercise once each day. And if you get too fatigued, then stop in the middle and then do the other half later in the day, and you will develop it. This slow practice enables you to make sure that you're only using the wrist. What you don't want to have happen is a combination of wrist and arms like this. The reason is that the arm motion will get in the way. being able to play a technique slowed down feels unnatural at first, because obviously if the music was written that way, you could accomplish it perfectly well with the arms. What you are doing is preparing your wrists for much faster music. You can practice octave technique in exactly the same way. That's the secret of octave technique as well. So, and there are octaves later on in the Military Polonaise, as a matter of fact. So there we have some octaves for you. And all of this can be accomplished easily if you have the wrist muscles and you know how to identify just the wrist, and the arms are used just as a guide. Thanks for joining me, Robert Estrin, here at virtualsheetmusic.com.